Hi, friends, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Ryan Abair, and this is where I share my insights. And today, I'm talking about, can we live confidently in an uncertain world? The short answer to that question is yes, but we must understand what confidence is. It's not aggression or force, but a certain respect for who you are. So stick around, and we're going to talk about living confidently in an uncertain world. Confidence is one of those things that is built, and it is very similar to faith. They might even be synonymous. And you do build your faith. You build your faith through experience, through admonishing principles that seem to be educative. So confidence is something that we unfold as we mature. We become more aware that life is teaching us. That's one of the first things that I began to sense, is that my entire life was a kind of schooling. However, some people don't see it that way. They see life as an attack. They see life as a struggle. And so they start to amass a great deal of defense by way of physical possession, acquisition. They build up armies, safeguards, money, prestige, power, connections, you name it. Because life is seen as a threat, not a stern teacher, if you will. And that's when things began to really click for me, is that I was being taught not to fear. And defending yourself, building up your fortresses and your safety nets, give you a false sense of confidence. So if you're a Wall Street tycoon and you've got billions of dollars and multiple homes and lots of stuff, that will give you a false sense of confidence. Real confidence comes from exposure. Exposure with what you're afraid of. But that fear will not allow you to attack it, which is weird. Because the source of confidence and the source of fear are the same. So there is a reproach to it. A reverential, holy, sacred exposure to truth. And that's what builds confidence. You slowly approach it through a great deal of education. And then you realize that what scares you is beckoning you, calling you. And you want to explore it, but you're not going to play chicken with it. You're going to do it carefully. You're going to do it with a great deal of curiosity. You're not going to creep around in the darkness. You're going to step in confidently, slowly, and as you are permitted to do so. The best way that I can sort of describe this process to you is to live confidently and to live like an idiot. There's a difference between taking bold steps, being a leader, and being a coward who plays the part of someone who is confident. Let me show you the difference between those two. A coward who plays the part of a confident person would get into a helicopter without any instructions, find the on switch, fire up the engines, and try to fly the damn thing. That's being stupid and reckless. That's not being bold. A confident person would respect that the flying mechanism, the power, requires education. Right? So you can be a bold person, but you have to be educated to understand how to use your faith, how to live your faith. You have to get curious about who you are. There's a lot of classroom work, a lot of preparation, a lot of being held hand in hand with the instructor, which is who you are. You can teach yourself confidence. But if you have a false sense of confidence, you'll get into that helicopter and think you can fly it. But life won't allow you to do that. It won't allow you to manhandle your way to confidence. That's a false sense of security and a false sense of boldness. That's called recklessness. However, if I'm drawn to flight, if I really want to go somewhere in my life, if I really want to harness the power of who I am, I'm going to have lots of instruction. This knowledge is not passed on willy-nilly. I'm going to respect the educative nature of my being. Okay? So I can fly the helicopter, sure. You can take it to outer space. That's how you harness the power of confidence. This is how you build faith. Again, it's reverential and respectful. You will be instructed. You have to learn all about it before you can grab the wheel and go somewhere, if you will. And that's how you begin to take you can begin to take bold steps because you're open to instruction. Nobody will ever be given the complete picture of this question, who am I? How could you put that in words? The who am I experience is unfolding right before your very eyes. And it's the idiot who says, I got this, I know who I am, I can fly this thing. They're the ones that crash and burn. Because they assume ownership over who I am. And who the I am will not be owned and dominated. You see. So building your faith will require classroom work. And I want you to begin to see your life in that perspective. What is this teaching me? And there's an old adage that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And this is basically what I'm trying to tell you. That if you're tired of suffering and tired of feeling like a coward and you shrink back from everything and nothing ever seems to work, it's time to go to work into your education. And it takes a long time to look back, reflect on your life, and to see how admonishing it is. Look up that word, admonishing. And you become the humble student. The humble servant is the one who is granted access to this thing called confidence. Because they approach everything with reverence and respect. Awe. I approach my highest being, my I am, with such respect and awe. And as I do that, more about who I am is revealed. Peacefully, P-I-E-C-E, peace, one piece at a time. And that is an endless releasing of information, coming into the form of insight, so that I can handle larger aircraft. You got to work your way up to the 747. And reckless people get into a 747 not having been prepared for what it means to have been given that co-pilot ship, if you will. They've tried to outsmart themselves. They've tried to fool themselves, and that's what you call a wise fool. Someone who believes foolishly in their own power. They have not understood the power, capital T, capital P, which will not be surpassed, which will not be outsmarted, ever, but can be approached. For those of you who are into religion and God, you might call this the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is just a respect for how intelligent you are. That's all. I respect how clever I am. That somehow I've managed to outsmart myself, fool myself, create an entire universe and forgot how I did it. I mean, this is you're touching on the source of the universe doing several things to you. Life is working with you. Life is working as you. Life is working through you. Life is also working against you. That's because not to be is the same as to be. Life is working on you. That's the student learning from the teacher. And all this is happening within the phenomena of I am. Teacher and student, parent and child, pilot and co-pilot, highest self and lowest self, form and formless. All these dualities, these multiplicities in a singular organism. When your highest self remains in that position, you'll never get ahead of it. But it or you will reveal things about yourself when you're ready to learn the true nature of confidence, which is you're not lacking anything. It's just that the ignorance is dissolving. The fear is dissolving, and it will not be shoved. Fear can't be shoved out of the way. You can't barrel into a situation and expect to be given acute awareness. It's respectfully approached. It's held in esteem and awe. And as you request more and more information about who you are, honestly, more of who you are is revealed to you. And more of that confidence is bestowed upon you gracefully, mercifully. Fear vanishes. Not all at once. It is a process which is to be respected, to be honored. You are being instructed for greater things. Very much like David, okay, in the Old Testament. He knew deep down inside he was going to be something great. He knew that. And all he had was a slingshot when he was a young boy. So you're going to feel like you don't have it. But deep down inside, maybe you feel you want to advance into what normally would make you crouch and shrink back. You work with those feelings and know that that higher self is preparing you. All those figures in the Old Testament who didn't feel worthy of any kind of leadership position, any kind of kingship, Moses, Solomon, David, they all felt that hunger to be more confident, but knew they had to be given permission before they were granted access to higher levels of being. That's because they were in touch with who they were. And that's how you build confidence. And the world is chaotic. And you must resist the urge to build armies and build wealth and build success. You can't. Confidence is an inner phenomenon. And you walk into bigger and bigger and more complex situations, naked with a slingshot or a staff or a rod or a coat. That's it. Just the very power of your being. That's all that's quote unquote needed. That's how you live confidently in a chaotic world, is to realize you don't need the things you used to think you need. You have to wean yourself off from dependency and ignorance and be attuned to learning of who you are. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you enjoyed these insights. Please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com.